What's going on, everybody? Emo Tempest here, and today we are back and we are doing our definitely our first deck profile for Opus 13. Now, it's not your regular deck profile, right? We're here to talk about a couple things, right? We're going to talk about monks in general, monk decks, variants, flex picks cards for matchups, and other kind of things, and kind of the situation around monks, right? There's a lot to talk about. So I have three decks I'm going to show you guys. They're all monks. They're just we're just going to discuss like what you're doing when you're playing, mono earth monks, which is what I have here for you. This is just a generic overview of what most mono earth monk decks will look like. Now I know you're probably looking and you're seeing a few random cards, and those are what are going to be our flex picks, and those are the ones that we'll discuss in detail a little more. But anyway, thanks for watching and tune in, and let's get to it. All right, first of all, we're going to start with the backups. Now, backups are pretty simple. We're going to have triple Tyro, mainly to search and to color fix for the Sophie in case we have to hardcaster. I do have one white mage here, which is kind of a flex pick for me, but she's a 4-drop backup. Put white mage in the break zone, choose an earth forward of cost 4 or less in your break zone, and play it onto the field. Main targets here are going to be Ursula and Yang. So, and maybe any one of your other picks if you need it. Worst case scenario, you can definitely bring in Sophie or something else. Next is Kolka. The reason we need Kolka is to be able to search the right pieces. Now, everything obviously is Earth, so this is going to grab you any forward, the exact forward you need in the deck. So, and we'll talk about that more too as we go on. Now, the most important thing for monk decks is to have monks in them, right? That's why we have all of these. We have the 3-drop, lets you get one back. The 2-drop makes you deal damage equal to the monks on the board. 2-drop, gives something 3k and brave. Choose a dull forward, it cannot be broken, and then 3k and brave also. All of these are going to be fuel pretty much for the whole game. The backup count is around 18 here, but this is subject to change. Obviously, like always, it really depends on your playstyle and whatever you feel is more feel that just plays better, right? Like I know a lot of people stay in the 16-17 range. I personally am on the higher end for most decks. I'm on the 17-18 range. Sometimes even 19 if I feel it necessary. So yeah, that's it, right? Next, we're going to go into the summons. It's just Fenrir, Mist Dragon, Kusith, and Hecaton. This is to make them fight, get monks back, to counterplay here and protect your guys. And this is just recursion as well, but it also helps get rid of your opponent's backups and any dark forwards like Kadaj and pretty much Kadash. It's because he's a big threat to this deck as well. Next is the forwards. So you have three mat. Choose a monk forward, card name monk, and it cannot become dull your opponent's by your opponent's summons or abilities. And when he enters the field, search for a job or a card name monk. Very important for the deck. This guy I would consider also a flex pick. You can play him at 3 and that's fine, but I have him at 2 here just so I can show you some of the other cards. You have triple Ursula, obviously, the main thing around the deck. We're going to jump around here a little bit too so I can show you stuff. We have Gabranth, just searching Matt and Monk, the 5-drop one. Next is Yang, which is also one of the most important cards. You need to always have this card in hand, at least to start off the play, right? At your first damage, he's able to play a monk for free, and then at 3 damage, he gives 1k and brave to every monk. Next is going to be the Sophie, which is the biggest card of the set. At 10k, deals your opponent a point of damage, and you draw a card. She gets plus 2k for every water and every earth forward. So the deck is simple. This is obviously, look, I'm telling you guys this deck as I'm expecting you to kind of understand it, but I'm also going to try to talk about it. And the point is for new players who don't know what monks are and what they do and how they play, right? So bear with me too while I talk about both sides here. For my seasoned players, your flex picks are going to be Scarmillion. He does a lot of interesting things, right? and when I only have them at one cost here, right? But you're gonna have to pick between having 3 of these or one of these at a point. Like we have about 5, maybe 6 flex cards in this deck. And that's going to be your choice to either add, different kinds of forwards for different kinds of matchups based on your locals or based on an event or on the meta, right? Altogether, we're going to, the summons are also, you can change the numbers. Like if you want to have 3 Kusith instead of 3 Fenrir, or, 3 Hecatons instead of, I would definitely not get rid of 3 Mist Dragons, but hey, if that's your thing, that's you, right? So yeah, that's the kind of the mentality behind the flex picks. So triple Scarmillion, back attack, first strike. When he enters the field, choose a forward during this turn. If it is dealt damage, double damage instead, right? So a couple things are going to happen here, right? Like you can use this in conjunction with like you're just fighting, right? You're fighting early and then you want to trade up, but it also gives a chance for Ursula to deal double damage on something. And then he can just take forwards on his own, right? Like if they're swinging in, he has first strike, so right, so he'll be able to come in and deal 6k to something, right? But you can also have Ursula just shoot for 5 on something, and he finishes off the rest. There's a lot of interesting plays here with this card, in terms of how much damage the other cards in your deck can do. So he's one option. Your other option is playing triple Sarah Mobius. I know a lot of players play a lot of this, but since you're not running a lot of water cards other than Sophie and Tyro, like to generate the water CP, I've personally found that having multiples of Sarah Mobius in a mono Earth deck is just rough. I don't know. I don't see it. I didn't like it. I always found pitching her, and since there's no other way to get her out again besides Fenrir or like recurring her with Kolka or something with Kusith. It's just hard to like keep her in your hand for that moment, right? So she's iffy for me, but that's again up to you guys, your style. I personally play triple Graph in my monks. At the beginning of your attack phase, during each of your turns, all Earth forwards and category Mobius forwards you control gain 2,000 power into the end of the turn. This is a quick fix for having Ursula and Sophie get there. Like for extra damage and extra power and stuff like that. And also his S is bonkers. For S and Earth, all forwards you control gain 5,000 power until the end of the turn and draw a card. I've only used this a couple of times in game, but having that ability to like boost him that high and then have Ursula shoot for what? So she's gonna go from potentially 6, right? Let's say we're mid game, right? At this point, from 6 to 11. And then shoot for 11 with all my backups. There's a few things that'll survive that. So, yeah, it's insane. I do like him a lot. He's probably the best option in my opinion. That's why, again, I use him. I use triple of him, and I found it very useful. The next one is going to be Cecil. Now, some might argue that this isn't a flex pick. This might be like a staple, at least a one of. I actually play not using it for the longest time, but he is good mainly to get you to that 1 point of damage so Yang can be live. The main strategy against monks or in a mirror match sometimes is you don't want to swing in right away until you're swinging in for like multiple points of damage. And then so that way when you're already ahead, you're in a better situation than just swinging in for 1 damage and letting Yang go live and letting them activate everything first, right? So that's like a basic rule of thought here for when you're fighting against monks. And so Cecil's a good card for you as a player, to take yourself that point of damage, maybe get rid of a forward in the process, and then you have your whole combo open, right? You have Yang and Mad and into Ursula, into Sophie, and then turn 2, you're fine, right? So that way. And he's also good as the game goes on, right? At 3 damage, he can, 1k and Brave, and then choose a forward your opponent controls, and they fight each other, right? So, he's pretty good throughout the game. Also there, that could help with Scarmillion if you like that too. See, there's other options there to make him fight, and for a forward to take extra damage. An interesting pick is also the Crystal Exarch, kind of like Graph, but I choose Graph over him. At the beginning of the attack phase, during each of your player's turn, choose a forward. It gains 2,000 power until the end of the turn. Same thing. So you can give it to Ursula. so she can shoot for higher power if you're not at, you know, without having to waste too much monks to like without having to waste that one monk to give her the power boost that she needs. And then at 5 damage, when the Crystal Exarch attacks, choose a forward. If that power is less than the Crystal Exarch's power, break it. Same thing. So he's going to be Earth, right? So he's going to fall. He's going to get. He could get buffed from Graf. He can buff himself and then swing and break something. He has a lot of versatility there, so I like him for those reasons. Your other one is going to be Sigurd. If Sigurd receives damage, reduce that damage by 2,000 instead. If an Earth forward other than the Sigurd you control is dealt damage, reduce that damage by 1k instead. So I've gone up against this a couple times, and it definitely does mess up my head and my numbers sometimes. So this is really good for mirror matches if you're expecting to, at your locals, if everyone's playing monks. And it's also good to kind of like just tweak things in your favor enough so that your opponent doesn't kill everything right away. So Matt and Yang live in that realm of Amaterasu stuff. So same thing with Ursula. But if he's out, you might be able to save them when you decide to do those plays, as well as just kind of other decks that just do a lot of ping damage that kind of prevents that. It helps in the long term of the game, the long span of a game. It helps a lot. So having him on board when you decide to like do your plays or preemptively before you go into battle or something like that is going to help. In a mirror match, it's really difficult to deal with him because you need to like waste 3 cards from an Ursula to get over him pretty much, and it's just he eats up a lot of cards, which is what you want, right? You want to undervalue your opponent so you can take the win. Some people might argue too, like I said, this was a flex pick for me. I like this card a lot. You can replace this with Shantoto. Most players do that as well. They want to keep Shantotos in the deck. That's the other option. I personally don't like Shantoto. I think this deck, for this deck anyway, I think this deck has enough answers to deal with most things. And so if you wanted to sub out the White Mage or even lower maybe a Monk, take one of these out and then just add a Shantoto so you can keep both. You can do that as well. So yeah, this is the main concept, right? Like the core is going to be Yang, Ursula, Matt, and Sophie, right? After that, you kind of just build around that. If there was more way to search those cards, I would definitely put them in here. But there isn't that many without going off colors, which is what other decks do, right? Next is going to be a lightning variant. It's almost not really lightning because all the backups are Earth, but we do generate lightning in multiple ways, and we have cards for that, right? So again, this is what I played recently. I'm gonna talk less variants about these, but this is just another way to play monks. The biggest thing you have to understand when you're playing monks with any other color is that you have to sacrifice monks. Unfortunately, that's not what we want, right? Sometimes, but we're sacrificing consistency for utility, and that's just the way it is with these tribal decks sometimes. If you want to splash other colors, so we're gonna go over this one really quick. Just on the cards that I'm adding, right? So I'm adding 2 of these wool. Main reason, his first 2 effects are nuts. His only 2 effects are nuts, but I think they're really good actually. So the category Mobius forwards, other than wool, you control gain 2,000 power. That's gonna be Sophie, and that's gonna be Graf, right? When wool deals damage to your opponent, choose a category Mobius character in your break zone and add it to your hand. That's gonna be Sophie. That's gonna be Graf. Those are the targets. Why? Because you have Graf can use his S ability over and over again. He's lightning. He's dual color. He's going to give you what you need. We're adding the Noctis in here as well. Again, I'm adding 15 to this whole thing. The King's Monks is what this deck is called. And same thing. He's lightning, but he also his ability is able to give your forwards haste. So if he's able to party attack, then let's say you have him out the turn before with something else, right? Him and Wall are out. Then next turn you get hit with one. Then you bring out, you go, Yang, Matt, Ursula, Sophie, go, right? And then you're able to swing with Noctis and Wool, give all your forwards haste and 2k. Now Ursula is bigger. Now Sophie is bigger. They're both going to get into their, by that point, Sophie's already going to be at 12k anyway. So, but Ursula is going to be bigger, and now she doesn't have to pump as much. Graph, if Graph is on the board here, Graph is going to give everyone else an extra 2K. So that's 4K all alone. Wool, if Wool is out, that's an extra 6K for those guys in total when you enter battle. So it's there's a lot of high power turns here where your forwards are getting buffed, but Noctis opens up the haste for everyone, right? The other thing is Regis. If you're able to get this off, it's really good on the turns that you go Yang, Ursula, like Yang, Matt, Ursula, Sophie, right? That's the play. You're going to be able to shoot forwards. You can even shoot Matt. You can shoot Yang, and if you have enough CP, you bring in Regis, and you're able to recur those guys. You can search. You can bring in Matt and I'm sorry, you can bring in Yang and Matt, have Matt search, then have Yang play another forward, and then you can use Ursula again to shoot that forward. So it's just, there's a lot of potential here for extra blowout plays. They almost feel like they're win more plays, but they're definitely satisfying to pull off. So um, now the backup line changed significantly for this one, and this is kind of what I was talking about. The reason I like this deck is because you don't sacrifice too much because you have the Regis play. But like I said, I added a princess in here to kind of quick fix for lightning if I need it. If I draw into it, it also helps. I could, if I'm already have the lightning out, we definitely do earth, so we can just pump them even more, right? Next is going to be a Tama. Tama is just, it's a one of because you want to be able to do the Regis play from hand on either player's turn. Now you can swing all in, and then if they don't, then you get free damage, and then you find a way to kill your forwards anyway, and then just Regis on your own. Or you can go all in, then shoot your forwards, and then still Tama on the turn, and then shoot more forwards. That's just the main concept there for this deck. You want to have these open. This is a just in case. I wouldn't add. I could add more. Like I could sacrifice maybe a Beastmaster or a Monk here to do it, but I like the way it is right now. Again, you guys can take this and do whatever you want with it. Class 10th Moogle, just to produce CP. Just the lightning CP, right? We don't want to have the problem like that we have with other cards and stuff. So I like playing this Monk because I feel like this is the better one. This is, if you have them, you deal the damage. That's all, right? At most, if you have all four of them out, you're dealing 12k for kind of 3 CP here. So it's good. I like this one the most. It's probably why I keep it here. I personally keep it around. Beastmaster lets you until you reveal lightning or water. So you're either going to get Wool, Sophie, Noctis, or Regis. That's perfect. We want all of those cards. So playing double Beastmaster is why it's in here. We play this Monk for the recursion as well. We want to get back, the forwards. Same, the combo piece is the core, right? Sophie, Yang, Ursula, Matt. One Coco, one Claris, and then Tyro. The only real king here is this guy, is Regis, but I think this could probably be changed a little bit if we wanted to just make double Coco. I put him in here for the EX burst, but it's whatever. Again, this is the way I played the deck. I didn't make too many modifications to it afterwards because I don't play as often, but I do, think about it a lot. So the summons are pretty much the same. I took out the choose to make out more space, but this is what one of the variants would look like. Some people have also been more involved with like the 15 stuff. So you would cut out, the monks. You would cut out probably this one as well, and the Claris, and you would add the Crow. They would cut out Gabranth, or at least like one Gabranth, maybe the Graphs and the Wolves, and then you can add the Nyx, Crow, and what's his name, Libertas pieces, right, to make it more lightning. There's nothing wrong with that either. I don't find the synergy. They synergize on their own, right? My idea behind this is that it synergizes together. So you don't want to have a 15/monk deck and then you're playing either 15 or playing monks. I'm playing both here, right? I'm playing to both the strengths and the colors with all these cards and all the categories, right? Mobius, and Mobius. So there's a little bit everywhere. Yeah. Now the next one is going to be more of a monk's water version. This is not my list. I found this online. Let me just put that out there. This is from the Opus 13 Standard Tournament, Alcala Comics. This is one of the recent ones. I just pulled it up. Again, this one's a little different, right? You have Cryos, They're playing the triple Sarah Mobius, the double Graph, and then you even have things like the White Tiger, the Nimbus, Lena, and Agrius. And then this kind of opens up for more stuff, right? Because you have Sarah here to search Princess, which is either Sarah or Lena, and I think that or Sarah, right? And then so this will back up fix. You also have the Ovelias here. There's a lot of interesting reasons why you would play this deck, right? It does. Again, you're sacrificing consistency for utility, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but this deck provides a lot wider spectrum of answers for different things, whereas a mono Earth deck is a consistent. You know what I'm gonna do. It's pretty simple, right? But it's very strong because I don't have to worry about am I gonna have monks for Ursula. See, look in this version too, they've already brought down Ursula to 2. So it's hard to decide. Like it's called the Princess and the Monk, but when you have three monks, 4 monks, sorry, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the core, which is what we're seeing, right? We have the Sophie, the Yang, the Ursula, and the Matt. Then it's less monk, right? But you're still having. You see, the backups are almost. I mean, the summons are almost the same too. You have the Fenrir, the Mist, and the Choose from my original Earth deck, but they took out the Hecatons for the Kuchulanes. See the 2 Shantotos, like we talked about, Tyro, a Star Sybil to search in the Mat. It's just like a one of, right? And then this, the Ovelia is mainly the big piece, right? Because you want to be able to do the Agrius thing to draw a card and reduce. And then she, with the S, you're able to bring back anything. If Ursula dies, you bring her back, and then you get another monk back. If any of them, right? Most of them are all entry abilities. So Lena will bring something back. Ursula will bring something back. These will bring something back. Agrius will draw and net you something. There's a lot of really good effects here. That's kind of where monks is right now. You have. I'm not saying these are the only variants either. These are what I just wanted to talk about with you guys. There is a world in the next set where there will be fire monks, because we're getting that Garland that is ridiculous. There's already Sabin from Cat 6 that there's like several versions of him that are fire. There's a 3-drop one. I think the latest one just lets you deal a point of damage to yourself too, which would replace the Cecil. And yeah, there's gonna be different ways to build this, but at the end you're gonna, like, if this were me too, I would have kept triple Yang, triple Ursula, triple Matt. I would have cut Sarah down and maybe the Kryl down or something. Because Lena can bring back the Sophies and the Sarahs. So still a very good deck. If you guys haven't tried any of these, if you haven't played monks or you don't know too much about monks for my newer players, this is like an overview of everything. I hope you're able to grasp kind of what the deck does and how to build for it, and if you do want to test other things, what you have to sacrifice to make them. I think that's gonna wrap it up for me here, guys. Make sure to just listen to if you want to get the list, they're here. I don't really put in the list in FFTX too much right now because I'm always changing those and I have too many, so I delete very often. So if you want to get them, just watch the videos, please. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think, and if you have another variant, make sure to leave it in the comments below so I can take a look at it too, because I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't know. So take it easy, guys. Enjoy.